All right, we're back on the air. So, um, I hope that answers you and in terms of the scheduling. But there's the roadway is undergoing a realignment. That's the very first issue. Currently, we have certain lanes from actually all the way from here that are there's two lanes going straight westbound and coming eastbound. As soon as you get to the corner of Cypress Road, we have three lanes. So what happens is there's a misalignment on the roadway. So in order to have the traffic flow smoothly from as far west as we can, we're realigning the road. So what happens is you're going through the aches and pains of the construction where you have too many cones and too many of these barrels in the way and too many flashing arrows that tell you to go here and go there. And it's kind of hard to follow. I ask you to be patient, go slow, and that's all we can do until we can get that portion of Atlantic Boulevard complete. We're still dependent a lot on the Florida East Coast Railway, that train track that's there. Unfortunately, they hold a very key card. The trestle that's right on the corner of Atlantic and Dixie has to be replaced because the traffic signal that's there has to be realigned to align with the roadway as we are reconfiguring it. And unfortunately, the FEC has not come to us and finish up the work that they need to do to coordinate with us. And that's going to cause that is causing me a lot of anxiety because that's going to take that's an important part of this project. Once we get over that hump, then hopefully that section of Atlantic Boulevard will be reopened more in the way that you're normally going to see it from here on, and hopefully traffic will begin to flow a little bit better. One of the things that I want to share with you that's very important, we hired arguably the best brains in the business in traffic engineering. And those guys have been going at it under pressure from our commission, you, and then me to come back to me and tell us that they can manage the traffic and the timing and all that stuff in a way that it is consistent with the vision that we have in the city. Now, that's not easy. It takes a lot of work. We believe that they have found a way to synchronize the traffic signals a little bit better, but it takes a lot of repeat and correct, repeat and correct, and over and over and over until we find the perfect formula. And right now, we're continue to fine tune that. So I ask you, please be patient. This is not a one-day affair. It's a very tedious, very difficult project, and I know it's testing you, but it's trust me, it's testing us as well. So please hang in there, and I'm going to turn it over to the vice mayor who she would like to address a little more.
No. The goal is the goal.
Still going to be now.
No, the goal is so the way it goes, the two lanes out from here is to
Right.
continue the two lanes all the way through. So it doesn't widen right there at Cypress. It wouldn't widen until what, 6th? At a racetrack gas station to get onto 95.
Well, to help traffic, I thought having more lanes was better. So I'm not comprehending.
Right, and that was something that we grilled them when we first met with the traffic engineers in the first phase of the project. I almost felt bad about how many hours I kept them like going through the project because originally they had how many lanes were they getting rid of?
4, a total of 8 combined.
Right. And that's where I was like, this does not make sense. This is not Las Olas. This is a main thoroughfare. It needs to continue moving smoothly no matter what it is. And that's how it came down to just the one lane on the west side to bring the street more of a manageable thing to go ahead and build the downtown, manage the upcoming traffic that will be coming and going in and out of the downtown area and attract the private section. It's similar to anyone who was living here back in 2009 when we were building the garage. And you remember how how vehemently people were like, we don't need a garage. Why is there coming a garage? No one comes to the beach. Like, I was born here, so I remember the just open, expansive parking lots that was here. And it's a signal that we're trying to make that whole area, not just the downtown area, not just Old Town, but the library, the cultural center on the other side, the whole area safe to get across, attract businesses, job opportunities, the whole thing that we were talking about with the downtown district and transportation, and make it manageable. And one of the things that we've been learning, because Horatio says we, is not just City of Pompano and the railroad, it's also Florida Department of Transportation, Broward County Transit, Broward County. We've been meeting with all of them to try and sync everything, figure out what the long-term goal is for the city, for the county, for the region, to make people move as easily as possible. And one thing that studies keep showing is the idea, if you just keep adding the lanes in and it's a tight area with lots of turnoffs and things like that, that it just kind of amplifies, can amplify the problem as well. So we're trying to make the balance where we can move people smoothly, no bottlenecks or expansions, they can just move through. And at the same time attract by making it the area both beautiful and logistically sound, something that will create the downtown, take out the slum and blight of the area, and start like a downtown we can really be proud of, to call Pompano the same way we were able to reinvigorate the beach and make it something that literally everyone wants to be at now.
And, there's a term in that we use in engineering and planning called complete streets. That entertains bringing all the elements together. So you have cars, but you'll have golf carts. You also have bicycles. You also have people. So how do you put them all together? Well, we use that concept of complete street to bring them together. So this way, they all coexist in that area. So that's why we had to make some of these reconfiguration, and hopefully by the time it's done, the whole it will be the whole package.
And then also, I like to sort of, as far as Horatio was speaking about, just coping with the construction, which it's not fun to drive through. The cones are moving. It's hard. I'm in real estate, so I always think about things in renovation world, and I feel like it's sort of like a kitchen renovation. If you've ever completely torn out your kitchen in your home, it is messy. It is chaotic. All of your stuff is everywhere. Halfway through, you're like, why did I ever do this? And then at the end, you look around your brand new kitchen, and you're like, why didn't I do this 10 years ago? And we're in that middle section right now. There's still a bunch that the railroad's going to be doing to improve the safety, try and get people to stop being hit by the trains, and the railway as safe and efficient as possible to be able to expand on that. But yeah, right now we're in the dust bowl at the moment. So again, patience we plead for, and alternate routes if possible. But it's going to be awesome at the end of the day. This is going to be just a place that I think we'll all be going to. And if you haven't been by already, and it wasn't on Horatio's presentation actually, South. Yeah. We have our first restaurant open in Old Town Pompano. It's called South Pub and Kitchen. And it's like Southern comfort food. Their biscuits are amazing. But yeah, Southern with a touch of Cajun going on there. So it's really good. And that's what we're trying to attract, is more high-end, delicious, one-of-a-kind type restaurants. The owner of this one is the same owner as Yacht down in Fort Lauderdale and Canyon, and Runway Cafe. And yeah, so right now I think they're just on dinner, but they're going to be expanding to lunch and brunch, I'm told. So definitely check that out, and you can see how we start opening up. We're still doing Untapped the first Friday of every month, and it's a great time to get out there and just see what's happening in Old Town. And we'll have updates and tents out there for what's going to be happening in downtown, and it's a very exciting time to be in Pompano.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. All right, any other questions? I think yeah, I saw you raise your hand.
Yeah, I understand about narrowing the road so the pedestrians can get across from downtown to City Hall to the cultural center. Why weren't they considering using bridges to go over, pedestrian bridges?
We did, but there's, just like everything else,
Seems the drivers were sacrificing the pedestrians.
Okay, so this is what happens. Number one, in order for you to build a bridge, you need public right of way available to build it. We did not have that public right of way available with taking away a lane. So technically, we're taking a lane to go ahead and put a bridge. That really didn't make any sense at all because each one of those bridges is like in the 10 million or more. Plus the fact that they require maintenance, they required accessibility for American with Disabilities Act, elevators or ramps. So it's not just simply go ahead, let's go put a bridge on top of it and we're done. There's a lot of other pieces that come into play, and unfortunately makes it very complicated. So the decision to do what we did is kind of a compromise between the two. We had to protect your taxpayers' dollars, but we also had to think in terms of the future of the city of Pompano Beach as well. So the decisions are very, very difficult. So I hope you can understand that her position is pretty rough. Her position is very rough because she has to answer to you in a totally different way that I have to answer to you. So I
thought the same thing, like Horatio, fly bridges. But then he explained the parameters for that location don't make sense. There's other places where we are looking as we continue to build where we might have that access, might be able to do it. But for that one, it doesn't. And again, when I was reading an article, because I get way down in the weeds on things out this, there's a highway in China that's like 50 lanes on each side. And it is some of the worst traffic in the world. And that's where, and I went down to the FDOT, which actually, if I think they do public things to see how they manage all the traffic signals. It's down on Commercial way west, but 3100 West Commercial Boulevard. And they have all of their cameras and timing, and they can see if there's an accident on I-95 in this direction, how much it's going to delay other roads. And it's very high tech. It's almost scary high tech, but learning more and more about it. And I remember driving eastbound on that area of Atlanta Dixie with my dad so many times where you're coming across the tracks and first off it's bottlenecking, and then there were three signals, which was one of the things I brought up, like get rid of the one on First Street because you hit three signals and trying to signalize those three, 1, 2, 3, and it was actually more of a mess than I think anyone realized. It just feels more messy right now because we are in the dust section of the renovation. But I'm very after how many sessions did I grill the parking people or the traffic engineers on?
we had 34.
And grilling them on the side as well, and just making sure that they understood that people do need to be able to get out, that this, even though we need to cross the street, this isn't a let's slowly saunter across the street area, that it needed to be both. It needed to be something that made sense for pedestrians but made sense for car traffic as well. And this is how we got to, I think, plan maybe K.
Oh my gosh. We went through so many iterations of the plan. You'll be dizzy. All right. Yes,
Are
ma'am.
Are there any plans to develop the city parking lot on Riverside across from the Sands?
Okay, very good question. As a matter of fact, well, I can't tell you that the cat's out of the bag because it's not yet, but we are posting a request for proposals probably as early as this week to have a developer help us build an additional garage and build additional amenities on that particular parking lot that you just mentioned. We had in our request for proposals, we selected a vendor, we negotiated with that vendor, and the negotiations didn't come to fruition. So now we're back to scratch pretty much. And we'll see what they have to tell us. And based on what they tell us is what we're going to tell our vice mayor here. We recommend that you go that route or not. So it's too early to tell. We have a long way to go with that. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, what about on the southwest corner of Ocean and Atlantic, where Lord and Taylor and the Walgreens, what's going
Okay.
on with that location?
All right. So
Lord-
that and the northeast. You have both the Raven building and the one on the northeast on the opposite corner. Both places have been recently purchased by new developers, and they're both moving forward with both projects. Now they're too early in the process. I have not seen the newer plans. The northeast corner already had a site plan that was approved with a identical to the on the west side. That's the other quarter of it. That's the way it was supposed to be. So I don't know if they're with that or they're come back with something new. And at the Raven building, there were supposed to be two buildings, and they were the same height, 21 stories, the same number of units, and the same number of condo hotel apartments. And that was approved many years ago. That's what they're going to be doing. They may. It's too early to tell. Yes, ma'am.
With all the new traffic that's going to be coming in, as it is, it's backed up during season from the bridge to US one.
Let me. Okay, the young lady told us she's asking what are the plans for Atlantic Boulevard Bridge? What are we going to do with Atlantic Boulevard Bridge to navigate with the potential traffic that we have? So, a couple of things. First of all, the city does not own the bridge. That's a bridge that's owned by the Department of Transportation. So, sometimes there are certain assets that do not really belong to us, so we have little control. This is one of them. Number two, Atlantic Boulevard Bridge is controlled by the navigational traffic. And State Road 81A, the traffic signal and all that stuff is controlled by what happens on the bridge. What happens on A1, which is a very weird kind of a situation. I've been working on that since 2011 with very little results because they can't do much more than what they do. So what happens is the bridge has two lanes going, two lanes coming back. They align with the roads. So technically it is the alignment continues and it's going to continue. So we really don't have the ability to control growth, stop growth actually. But what we can do is do what is called traffic management. And we work with the Department of Transportation and other government agencies to do just that. So we will continue to work on that, but that part is more on the Department of Transportation than it is on the city. It's not going to be widened. You can't widen the bridge. You cannot make it wider. You cannot make it bigger. And that's not really going to resolve much because they only got two lanes of traffic anyway. Yeah. Okay. But that's okay. So let me help clarify one thing. When you see more buildings, that doesn't necessarily translate into more cars. There's something that is called the developers have to come to the city and show the city before they get an approval how they're going to mitigate for the additional units that come in. And all of these units have already been accounted for. So several years ago, our planners already knew what each and every one of these parcels would have. So when you asked me what's going to happen with the Raven building, in 2010, we already knew how many units they were going to have. And we also knew on the northeast corner how many units they were going to have. And we also knew how many parking spaces that we're going to have in the garage. So those counts were already done. So the roadways are designed to manage capacity, and those capacities have already been accounted for more than 10 to 20, even 30 years ago.
Also on that, aside from serving the commission, I'm also our city's representative on the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the MPO. It's an association of all the cities, the school board, the county, to try and figure out and plan future transportation options and where they're widening, whether they're widening the turnpike or narrowing this road or doing complete streets. And we work a lot on this. And that's where I've been really pushing with Broward County Transit to come up with a plan for mass transportation that is specific to more, the beach style, for tourists, for people who don't want to, when they come down for season, don't want to bring their car, to have routes that make sense up and down A1A. Like I said about the trolleys and the trams, east-west in Pompano itself, making other options more user-friendly than they currently are. I was fortunate enough, I lived in DC for 2 years after college, And I didn't even have a car. Like you could pedestrian, you could get everywhere comfortably. And here we have the challenge of what I like to remind everybody, August, last, it's wet. And we need to make sure that our transportation ideas and solutions account for that. But I think there's a huge desire and a huge opportunity, especially for the beach districts throughout the whole county. This poll's like in the worst place. Throughout the whole county, even the tri-county area, to really push or to make alternative transportation a real option for people, not just a great idea. So I think that's the other way we really, with Florida being as popular as it is now, try and mitigate traffic is by giving people real other options.
All right, we have 5 more minutes. Yes.
Are you also involved with the building of the condos? Because I was wondering, first of all, with the one right here on Riverside, right on the intracoastal that we can see from this building, like how tall it was going to be. I know they have 2 big parcels of land because they're tearing down that building.
I am not into that's not my part of the work.
Okay.
That's part of the planning and development. That's our
Okay.
development services division, the one that handles that kind of stuff. And unfortunately, I don't have much to tell you. I do have something to tell you about Riverside Drive, though. And I forgot to tell you about that. I said that I was going to come back to you. Riverside Drive from Atlantic Boulevard to Northeast 14th Street, currently under design. We got monies from the government, from Broward County through the surtax, through the penny for transportation. It is currently under design. The design is probably going to be complete more or less around July 2024 and go on under construction probably first quarter of 2025. The key element of that design and the reason why we're doing this is called sea level rise. One of the key things that I want to be able to resolve before I retire and join you is try to find a way to make Riverside Drive not to be a pool. Unfortunately, Pompano Beach Boulevard is a high pool and all the water comes to Riverside Drive. It compounds the problem exponentially and makes it very, very difficult. Once again, so sea level rise is the primary reason not only to build Riverside Drive, but also to protect you. And it's very challenging because the technology is still in flux. So we're working with the best, the most advanced stuff that we can find. We're going to try to implement it. So, and we just recently got approved for an additional $1 million in a grant that I applied for through the state of Florida. So fresh off the press. All right. Yes, sir.
But as far as the sea level rise goes, the reason that most of the flooding that's going on, I walk up and down there all the time. The reason that most of the flooding happens is because the drains are clogged. If you keep the drains unclogged, there won't be much overrun.
Partially correct, but that's not truly the whole problem. We have tidal gate valves that are actually pumping the water out of the drains because they can't keep up. We have a program to vacuum the drainage systems every 6 months. Usually you vacuum them once a year. This has to be done twice a year. And the gates cannot even keep up with that. The amount of rainfall that we're getting and the rising of the seas is causing a problem and it's pushing the water back towards the street. So even if we clean it, the water is still going to come up. So we have areas from like 7th Street, 9th Street near the church. Those areas are all constantly flooded. And I know very well because I used to live on 14th at Riverside. So I know the area very well. So this project is underway. And I forgot to tell you about it, but now you know.
And I also just wanted to address the condo because the condos do come through us after lots of going through staff and planning and zoning and all these other steps that they have to take. But yes, we take into account the condos are restricted in some areas by height, some areas just by acreage for what they're trying to build. They're also FAA is the overall. If FAA says no, that is the end of that. So there's a lot of back and forth throughout the whole process up until it is approved. And You know, again, when I was in DC, I was a real estate developer up there. So I grill them about parking ratios, unit mixes. What are they trying to do? We've had some come through. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, oh, we're a mixed use building. How much square feet do you have? 1,000 square feet retail. What are you going to put in that? Nothing is the answer because nothing will go in it. And some places don't need it. And so we don't need to give you extra height. Build with what you bought because you don't need extra height in this place. You're not adding to what we're trying to create here in Pompano. So fortunately, because of the successful planning of the beach, of our city staff, that seriously, we have awards given to us, I think all the time, at water management and design. Because of all this, we have hit a point where I know when my granddad was a developer or a housing developer here in the 70s, he would refer to it as Pompano, because no matter what you did, it was no, no, no. Now we've hit a point where developers all want to be here. They all want to be, and so we get to be picky. We get to say, this is what we want. This is what we're looking for. Work with us. And we've been blessed, I think, to have a lot of repeat developers, a lot of repeat, business clients here that worked with Pompano, made something awesome. And now they're like, you know what, let's do it again. You look on the beach with Lucky Fish and Oceanic, with Boresco and Beach House. And we are trying to make it where it's not just a flash in the pan, build and leave, that the people that we're working with are as equally invested into Pompano as our residents, as our commission, as everybody else.
All right, so I want to close it with telling you who is going to be one of your neighbors somewhere to the south. And as Vice Mayor just mentioned, now everybody wants to be in Pompano. You know the Ritz-Carlton is coming? That's going to raise big time. Ritz-Carlton is not, they chose Pompano, and they chose for a reason. So now they're going to be our neighbors. And, obviously this, Pompano is people are seeing us. They're taking notice of the things that we're doing collectively. They're taking notice of how people support us. They're taking notice of the decisions that are made at the government level, at the highest level. They're taking notice of the vision that we have. And this is all for us. I'm a Pompano guy just like you. So, all right. We'd like to thank you for allowing us to come to you. And
thank you very much, Horatio and Vice Mayor McGee, for taking the time out of your busy schedules and sharing all of this with us.
our pleasure.
So again, another round of applause for them. Thank you so much, Cookies. Thank you.
And my phone number is on the last page of that handout. Okay. But don't call me on Sundays. I don't answer the phone.
We're gonna have if you want to continue with the town hall that we usually do, if you want to continue with that, we can.
Just want to let everybody know that the Art and Design Committee has approved the repainting of the library and both restrooms on the first floor. And that will commence within this month. Job will be done. The restrooms, not only will the walls be painted, but they're also going to try to repaint the barriers in between in the stalls. So that'll all be painted, done in a light gray color. The library will be gray and white. All right, and it stays with the line and the vision that the building's had for the coloration of the first floor. Thank you.
Fantastic. No more orange. All right.
Thank you, Joyce. Yes.
And again, when you see Unelli, you don't understand how complicated. Unelli is her office manager. She provided the cookies and the iced tea and lemonade.
We told you what we went through to get cookies, and make sure
Right.
you eat the cookies and have that lemonade. Everything's on the table in the back. It's a long story. We're not going to bore you
We're
with
not
it.
going to bore you with that.
But we will tell you that it was a little bit of arm twisting. Then we stopped twisting.
Right.
And then it came through.
So does anybody have any they want to address the normal function of our town hall? Anything about the building? But you've got to use the microphone, please. so the Zoom people.
I'm
can
gonna
hear.
say one while we're waiting for him. I want to bring up I want to talk to management about the recycling problem because people don't know what to recycle. And all I do, and I've become like the garbage queen. My dad actually owned a waste management company when I was growing up. I used to work there on Saturdays when I was a kid. But if I have to go and throw one more pizza box down the chute, I am like the condo commando. I keep writing notes on the 8th floor in black marker. Yes, if you have pieces of like, if you have like a muffin tin with cake left over in it, that's not recyclable. The recycle people always say, if throw it out. It's so all these little things that are crushed up and put there, you're not helping the recycling. And yeah, that is me. Sorry, I guess I blew my cover. But I don't know. I'm just going to bring that up. I want management to do something about that. I want them to address it, either put better signs up because there's a lot of junk that's floating around in those rooms and it causes rodents to come and it causes ants. And I just, I don't want to be cranky about this, but when in doubt, throw it out. You're better off just throwing it down the chute. I know you're trying to help, but really the only things that should go in there are like, plastic that's clean and cans that are clean and put the newspapers in the cardboard. That's fine. But I'm bringing this up as an owner and I want management to do something about it because it's, I don't want to be attracting junk on our 8th floor and all your other floors. So thank you.
Okay, I think we all have pizza boxes occasionally. And I know years ago, before we have these bins, we had the shelves. And we were told to tell new people to just empty out the pizza box and put it on the shelf. They don't fit down the chutes. So what do you want them to do with pizza boxes? Yeah, they're supposed to empty them, but yeah. Well, I think it has to be communicated with everyone because we all have pizza boxes.
Gentleman in the back.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I don't know your
right.
name.
Paul Musser,
Hi, Paul.
10:06. I hope that doesn't mean people are going to come to 10:06. But if you do, that's all right. Number one, the building on the outside, the building on the outside is in really good shape. The people that are doing this here are doing a good job on that. So I want to give a thumbs up on that. That's the first part. And I'm not here to be that guy that just complains. But here's something that's important to me. Safety of the building, cleanliness, has problems with on a lot of different fronts. But let me just address the stairwells.
Before you go on, let me just say that this isn't a board meeting, okay?
I know, but
So
yes, I just want to say, the
whatever
building,
you say, though, we will put it in our report and send it to building management. But again, we're just owners in the room.
I understand that. I've been frustrated for about a year, and this is my first. I thought I was going to be able to do this. Been on vacation, so I apologize if I on the. Anyhow, the water in the stairwell has been a problem since May of 2022 when I moved into the building. And at times, it's gotten worse at times. And I have heard from people that have lived here that this has been going on for 20 years. All right, so that's a problem. And reporting it to management isn't the answer. The answer is us making sure it gets done. I'm talking about all of them, but mainly the east. There has been times, my first weekend in here, the stairwell on the east floor was flooded, right? And it was up around the 14th and 15th floor. And after reporting it, here's what I was, something. It did, after the third day, I dried it up myself and it came back and there was no rain going on. Turns out it was somebody that had flooded in that area. I don't know how that happens, but that's what was happening. All right, there is a way somehow. So it's been addressed. It has not been addressed. It hasn't been fixed. I have no idea what they've done, but they haven't explained it to me. That's just that part. The other part is the cleanliness of the building. I see the stairwells and they don't get cleaned hardly ever at all. They're nasty and it's not a nasty building. And if we don't take care of it ourselves, then it will become a nasty building. And I've got too much invested in it, as do you.
See stuff like that, what I do, I mean, I saw a couple of things. The one, safety, the construction people were putting a rock against that garage, our garage, and they were leaving that open. And I come home, I review theater and do things. And I come home sometimes 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and I'm walking in that garage. Somebody could come in there and hang around in there. So I kept telling them in the office and, oh, okay. I told the person in the security, and I saw it every day when I would walk at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, that there'd be a rock in there. What it was the construction guys were doing that so they could go to that Job Johnny or whatever the heck it is. So I took a photo and I sent it to the office. And every time I would see it, I would take a photo and I would send it to the office. So I don't know if you do that. I'm just making a suggestion.
What's funny about that is I have sent them so many photos that they have said I'm harassing them. Okay, so it hasn't worked, but I understand. I would think that it would, and it should work, but it doesn't, which is why I'm here. Because they don't do what they should be doing. If you go on the service elevator right now, the service elevator has a temporary certification that has been expired for 3 years. Not 3 days, not 3 months, 3 years. Have I brought that up to them? I have. And I've taken a picture. I've called the person whose number is on there, and he said, yeah, this isn't right. They should have this done. And that was 4 months ago. It's still up. Temporary, that was
because new elevators were installed and we were granted permission to have them run because they were brand new by the city. And I believe, I'm not positive, but I believe that inspection for them, it's supposed to be sometime in late July or August. Now, I'm not on the board anymore, so I don't know, but I think I saw that in one of the weekly updates.
I have actually read the law that's on there, and here's what it says: $1,000 a day fine for every violation. And you say there's a documentation that says there is it should be posted in there because that's what the law is, and it's not posted.
Let me tell you also about the east stairwell, because I was involved in the previous board when we did concrete restoration, and we had a lot of water intruding into there. We did a test from the roof where we ran water for like 5 hours to see if there was water that was seeping out, because water can come from anywhere. That's the hardest thing, is to find the source of the water. And we found that it wasn't coming from the roof. So the next thing we had to wait for was for a nice driving rain coming in from the east. And there we did find some water intrusion. So we called back the concrete restoration people, who did not want to come back again. They said, no, we did an observation from it and there's no cracks in the concrete. So they said it probably wasn't waterproofed properly by the painting company, shift it over. So I personally called Pittsburgh Paint because they stand behind their product. And I said to them, I said, listen, I don't want to have to sue you guys because you've done our building like the last 3 paint jobs. But according to the concrete restoration company, your paint is not stopping it from coming through. They sent a man on their own dime with their own scaffold. Actually, it wasn't even a scaffold.